Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Nicole Anderson, Jen Pointer, and Dr. Cole Galloway. And I want to ask the question, what does accountability mean to you? Dr. Cole, can you kick us off?
I loved getting that email with the accountability. I deal with that a lot. I represent communities that I'm not a part of. And so advocacy and accountability are right there. And boy, oh boy, do a lot of people want to be advocates and have no accountability. For me, that's a readiness to be responsible and responsive to yourself, but also to another group of people. And I'll just throw out there real quickly that accountability without ethics is a problem. And so in my world, everybody feels accountable, but accountable to whom? Those clashing priorities. I want to hear what the other folks know about all that. Accountable is a great definition, you get it, but in the real world, oof.
And I'll add to that. As I was thinking about accountability, I really enjoy having accountability partners and having other people that I can count on to help me keep accountable when I'm looking at starting a new goal. But I also realize I have those accountabilities that are not goal oriented, but just my duties to people around me. One of the things that really struck me as I got thinking about it is I think at a young age, a lot of times accountability is almost taught to be a negative thing. When children or teens are in trouble, it's you have to be accountable for your actions. And so it's made to be a negative thing. So I find a lot of times when working with direct reports, it's like retraining their brain that we can be accountable to each other, for each other, and help each other, make it a positive thing.
I had not thought of that. Nicole.
I actually live in the world where accountability is few and far between. I'm in the business world. I go into clients' offices where leaders don't take accountability, and then it kind of trickles down to the staff not taking accountability, and it's pointing fingers at everybody, and nobody wants to say, oh, yep, I made a mistake. Let me own it and let's have solution. Let's build a solution so this doesn't happen again. To follow up on Cole's point about ethics and accountability, mine is integrity and honor in accountability. That's part of my contract with my clients. Regardless of what happens, they have to, because most of them are CEOs and presidents and owners that will sign my contracts. They have to live up to the honor and integrity of accountability. Because we're not going to be successful either way. I'm not going to be successful if they can't take accountability for what they've caused or that there's issues in their organization. And then if I'm not held accountable, then I'm not going to be able to help them. So for me, accountability is definitely a huge piece of what I do on a day-to-day basis. We have to have back and forth accountability, and I deal with that issue every single day.
So it's interesting because when I work with clients, often at the end of a call, I will say, what promises are you making to yourself between now and the next time we talk? And that is kind of a thing that kind of sets them up to be accountable to themselves. So I'm not the one, I'm not the bad guy. But what I'm also hearing is accountability can also be, well, let's place blame somewhere. And that's an interesting dichotomy because it can be, to your point, Jen, both positive and negative. And I hadn't thought about it that way.
Hearing Jen with talking about accountability partners and Nicole's integrity, the need for integrity, I really see that. And again, the biggest accountability problem I have in my world of justice, where you're serving others through community organization, is people saying they're accountable and that they have knowledge of this community and representing them and not. So I agree with Jen that it shouldn't be a negative thing. It's not like you're going to get in trouble. Yes, but boy, I would like some people to get in trouble for speaking for others as a white guy sort of speaks for you all kind of thing. Like I have to be accountable to like understand my place. And who wants to be in HR, by the way, with Nicole in terms of accountability? Because and again, in my world, it's not rocket science, y'all. It's really not. But you have to give up on this blame game that we have. But I'm really interested in what accountability partners are. What is that?
So for me, like I said, I use multiple accountability partners. And I think going right along with what you said in regards to ethics, when I'm looking for somebody that I want to utilize as an accountability partner to help me achieve goals or stay on task, I'm not looking for a friend or a family member where it's going to come across like they're nagging me to get it done, or somebody who's going to coddle me and say, oh, okay, you didn't get that step to your goal done this week. It's okay, you'll get it next week. I don't want that either. So it's got to be somebody that can really help push me to do those and kind of be an outsider from it. But that's where it comes into, they have to know their role. So I can't go and be an advocate for someone if I don't know how to be an advocate. And I can't have an accountability partner to help keep me accountable for something if they don't know anything about that either. I think ultimately for me, one of the things I found with accountability partners, I don't feel like I'm accountable to them at all. I have to be accountable to myself. But for me, verbalizing what those goals are and making them my accountability partner, but it's truly me holding myself accountable through verbalizing it to someone else is really what I'm looking for in an accountability partner.
Well, Dr. Cole, in your field of justice and advocating for other individuals, I think sometimes in that space, people just want to be heard. So from a, like you were saying, like a white male, or they want to be heard and they want to go somewhere. So your accountability partner would be somebody that you are serving. So it would be somebody that you can trust and that's honest with you and saying, listen, you're not living up to what you're saying. But at the end of the day, like Jen was saying, you have to be accountable to yourself. And can you put your head on your pillow at night and go to sleep and say, I've done everything today that I said I was going to do. But I usually, as an accountability partner in my faith and in my business world, is for me, it's somebody who is completely opposite of what I do. I do that intentionally because they have no idea from a daily basis, but they see from an outsider's perspective. They're like, whoa, Nicole, I wouldn't have made that decision. And here's why. We may not always come to the same conclusion, but I have a different perspective. And I go into meetings or I go into these conversations and I have a new appreciation for what my accountability partner has said to me, because then it opens the door in those meetings. And that's why I said someone in your field would benefit from having someone that you're serving as your accountability partner versus somebody who is being just an advocate the same way you are. And I think that's where we miss the mark, is we want somebody that's on the same level as us to be our accountability partner, because they just don't understand if they're not at our level. But how could somebody how could somebody not who's living and breathing, who you're advocating for, not be able to hold you accountable for your actions?
Yeah, and I see active, is this a thing or am I making it up? Active abdication and shunting of the true accountability partners not being in the room. If we have them in the room, then it shifts priorities. It goes away from margin. It goes away from profit. I don't talk about like for-profit healthcare. The way you do for-profit healthcare is just keep the disability community out of the conversation, because they have a lot of weird ideas like health for everyone. And so I see we can still be ethically and accountable within this room if we just don't let everybody. I love your idea of get someone outside of the field. Well, in so many fields, I bet that's dangerous. That's innovative and disruptive and challenging and so needed.
And the different perspective, as Jen was saying.
And I'm really fortunate that I get to be kind of that accountability person for a lot of people in a lot of different fields. And I love asking the question, well, what would the person who you're serving, what would they say to you? And if you don't know, if you can't answer that question, you need to go ask.
100%. I understand that you can't have a solution for everybody. You get into a conundrum when you're trying to satisfy and make everyone happy. But if you are doing your best at advocating, or I'm trying to advocate for the employee and the employer at the same time and make change, I can't make the employees happy all the time. But there has to be some accountability on the leadership that, okay, maybe this decision we can't give, but we need to give here. And I think that that's the balance that somebody outside of your perspective will give you in order to make it all work well.
Well, it's pretty clear that accountability is a really tough subject because that is our 10 minutes. So I'm going to have to cut us off there. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And I look forward to speaking to each of you again really soon.